Book, which is certainly what we did. There were 14 options to choose from in stage one. And then to take any comments and notes from, yourselves, if you want to come up and say something and have your say as well. Would love to hear it. Because this has certainly been one that has gotten the community very active in their opinions, which is great, to be perfectly honest. It's something that makes me very happy seeing people get involved. As a starting point, I would just want to say welcome everybody and thank you so much for being here and taking the time out of your day. When we were thinking about how to use the midnight that was coming in, not how to use it, sorry. Of course, the initial thought was we should just send it out straight up, right? Like there doesn't need to be any thought really involved. But the more that we had chats with people and the more that we sort of thought about it, it seemed like a really good opportunity to start discussions exactly like we've been having and get people involved in that decision-making process. Now, one thing that I really do want to add as part of this is if the midnight doesn't get sent out to the individual stakers at the point of the snapshot that the midnight snapshot was taken, the team as well is also losing a lot of midnight. I know that personally, myself, I've got at least 115,000 Cardano in the DEX. So I'm also going to be missing out on that midnight as well if another decision gets made. And our other team members have a lot of Cardano in the DEX as well. So, we're also liable to be losing the value from the midnight if it doesn't get chosen to go out in that manner. So another reason why I want to talk about it is really to just let people, another thing I want to mention is just let people know that this isn't the only, that, we are also impacted by this decision. The team members themselves are also impacted by this decision. And that is one of the main reasons, one of the big reasons why we put this whole thing to a vote with such a wide array of options, right? We wanted to see how the community would respond and what the community really wanted to do with the midnight that was coming in. Nick, what are the current 5 options that I don't have them in front of me? Could you just read out what the current 5 options are for the final vote?
Just give me one moment. They'll be in front of me quicker than they'll be in front of you.
2 seconds? Yeah. That's exactly it.
As of right now, clicked on the wrong one. As of right now, the top options that will be going for the next round. Actually, I just read the next vote. Midnight, by the way of farm, rewards distributed to all pools based on their ADA ownership the day of the midnight snapshot. Midnight, by the way of farm rewards distributed between the top 10 pools by TVL. Midnight to fund the auto harvester. Direct serve to the bar. And then basically the first option, which is distributing the midnight ADA LP to everyone at the time of the midnight snapshot.
Yeah, that's the one. So these were the most popular options in the previous vote, right? And the main reason why we wanted to go through to a second vote like this was because we knew that having 14 options on the table isn't a very concentrated view of what the community thinks and feels, right? With 15 votes available on the table or 14 different votes available on the table, it's very much going to be spreading out who's picking what to do. So this phase here, which I should add is going to be live in the next few hours. This phase here is really to concentrate those votes so that now people that were voting for the other 11 available options or 10 available options or whatever they be, are also going to be able to have their say on what's their favorite of these ones, because the other available options were all variations of distributing the midnight out to those that held it at the time of the midnight snapshot. So that's certainly something that I want to start by adding, which is you don't need to stress, I think, as in we need to wait to see where the votes land. But as a starting point, the other remaining votes were all variations of exactly that, distributing midnight. And if we concentrate those votes, I'm not going to sound confident, or I'm sure they're the wrong words, but I think it's definitely within likelihood that those that voted for different forms of distribution are going to pick one of the two existing forms of distribution there. Right now, I do understand that the one which had the highest vote was the bar, right? And I saw quite a few people get a little bit worried about that. So something I want to talk about. Sorry, it went live an hour ago. That's my mistake. So it is actually already live. So one of the big things that I want to talk about is one, the mechanism around which each of these are going to happen. And on top of the mechanism around which each of these are going to happen, I also want to talk about the ways around which we're going to essentially ensure that it can come through exactly how it's said. If you guys at any point want to put up your hands and ask something, particularly if you have any strong feelings about, the bar or any of the things, I'm more than happy to hear out those strong feelings. I come from an Italian family, so I'm definitely not one who is made uncomfortable by people having high emotions. So don't stress yourselves if you've got. I know that this has resulted in some high emotions among people.
And this space will be not space, but this town hall will be recorded and posted by the before the end of the period. So maybe your comment can influence voters. Just making that clear. Be clear.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. So yeah, we really wanted to create as many options as possible to give people as much power as possible to decide on how this would be dealt with. Right? It really is as simple as that. And we think that is, and I still very much believe that is the best strategy the best way to do it, right? Like I don't want to be the person that's making the decisions unilaterally around this. I think that the community should have a say, and the community should be able to decide how they want it to be sent out. And in giving the community that power, hopefully it's going to make us a stronger community in the near future. Right? If not as of now, because we shouldn't be scared of or shy away from difficult decisions. And, unfortunately, it's not necessarily going to be a decision I agree with, I should add. I try to keep as neutral as possible around all of these things, but I will happily say that my favorite vote is the use midnight to create the Art of Midnight pool and distribute those LPs to all pools through farm based on their art ownership on the day of the midnight snapshot. On the day of the midnight snapshot. That gives us a nice juicy pool which supports the platform, and it also gets essentially the midnight out to everyone on the day of the snapshot, which means I myself would also be receiving my midnight snapshot. But whilst the team isn't banned from voting, not by any means, we hold VyFi as well and we're allowed to vote. I can say with absolute certainty that I'm not voting in this. I don't want to have an undue influence on this decision. And no business wallet is voting in this either, right? So as far as I'm aware, and again, I should add aware, no team members have voted on it thus far, but that can always change. Just do be aware that team members do hold some VyFi and they do have every right to vote. But I will say outright that I am not voting. So that's, my opinion isn't really being taken in this. I'm leaving it to the community and to others to vote on. I don't think that it's necessarily my place to be voting in this one. I actually haven't voted on any governance proposals as of yet. I really want the governance proposals to be community-led, not to just be an expression of my opinions, right? And I think that to me is something that's very important. And really what we want to truly be able to do is make the best decision is hope, that the community makes the best decision for the community. And in this hope, there's always going to be a little bit of difficulty if you disagree with the vote that's being made. But something that I really do want to, reinforce is that this is the community making this decision. It's not us. And I mean, I can't control what other people decide. VyFi can't control what people are going to decide here, right? So I really just want to reinforce that. It's not something that we're actively in any way able to basically change, which is the whole point of governance, right? And particularly in something as decentralized as Cardano, you sort of want that to be the case. Now, the distribution methods work. There's essentially two ways that the distribution methods work. Either it's just direct sending out. It's direct sending out, and by that direct sending out, it means that we collect the midnight, we attribute it to farm, and then once it's been attributed to farm based on the accounts that were holding LPs on that day for the amount of ADA that they were holding, we essentially allow you to claim that through your farm, and then that farm will be topped up every time we get the midnight top up, right? In that case, the farms, and that's for both the LP and for the direct distribution of midnight, that won't be impacting farm APYs whatsoever, because that will just be going to those that held LPs on the day of the snapshot. Now, something else that I just want to add to that is that this system is a little bit complex to build out. It's not a super simple system to build. So it might take us a week or maybe 2 weeks at most once that decision has been made to get the system properly built. The reason I say that is just that we may be a little bit behind on the first drop if we're using this system, but we won't be too far behind, I can assure you. We just need to make sure that we get this system correct, accurate, and all the numbers are 100%. And there's a little bit of technicals that go into it to make sure that we're doing everything correctly and then to also double check everything. So I just do ask that you bear a little bit of patience with us. It won't be too long, but we certainly need to make sure that we get it right, because once it's set up, it's basically set up for the next however long the drop goes for. For the options that require that send it through to the bar, or also the LP option where we send it out as LP and it goes out to users directly, we functionally are going to be taking the midnight, selling half of the midnight on the market, and from the half of the midnight that we're selling on the market, we'll be then creating an LP and then distributing that LP out to people that were staked or that had LP on the day of the midnight airdrop. No, the midnight snapshot, sorry. Or alternatively, if it's going through to the bar, we'll essentially be selling the midnight and it will be used to purchase VyFi, and then that VyFi that it purchases is going to be distributed directly to the bar. So both of these are going to be managed by ourselves to ensure that they're executed upon correctly, but we will also be showing all of the transactions that we make so that you guys are able to see exactly what's happened. None of that is hidden, of course. We want you guys to be able to see it, and we want you guys to be able to verify that. So all of those transactions we made public so that you guys are able to do full verification. Of course, the trade on the centralized exchange, I'm not 100% sure if we can make that public. We might just post a screenshot of that trade in our Discord and Telegram. So this is all going to be public information. You guys can follow along as it happens. I mean, at the end of the day, it is up to us to execute on what the governance votes and ensure that we have a smooth execution of what the governance votes. And that, to me, is one of the most important parts of our job running a crypto business, is ensuring that when the governance votes something, we execute on that vote and ensure that it gets completed. The only one that I missed was pretty high up in the votes as well, was if we use the midnight to fund the auto harvester. I mean, I would be very honored if the community makes that decision. It would be incredibly honoring to have that decision be made. But at the same time, those funds will go entirely to the production of the auto harvester and allow us to get that auto harvester out quicker. That is something that is going to give us more products more quickly. I mean, at the end of the day, we work within a budget. The budget is what it is. We haven't raised money since the initial sale of our token. We've basically we earn fees, of course, so we've been living off of those fees. And I also, as people here are probably aware, I'm also a trader. So we've also been living off my trading as well. So it's been a mixture of fees and trading that has been able to get us through, this long, almost 5 years now. And I would be very honored if that decision's made. Of course, as I said, I'm personally sticking well out of it. But if that does happen, then we'll be taking the Midnight, we'll be selling it on the exchange, and then we'll be essentially collecting the ADA and then bringing that ADA back to the company wallets. And we'll probably create a new wallet that you guys can see and we'll make public so that you guys can see that every cent has been spent on the auto harvester. I'll probably even include some degree of, receipts or an explanation for every transaction that goes out of that wallet so that you guys can be fully aware of how every cent from that is being spent. And again, we make this as open as possible so that you guys are able to fully understand every way in which that money from the Midnight has been spent. So whatever it is that we do, we really want to target as much or whatever wins, we want to target as much transparency as possible to ensure that the community is able to see how that money is spent, where that money is going, or can see the transfer of that money and ensure that all of the correct amounts are going through to the bar. All of these things are going to be made as transparent as possible for you guys so you don't wonder to yourself, where did that money go? If you want to know where that money went, you'll be able to go. We'll almost certainly have a channel in the Discord, and that channel in the Discord will be something that tracks these transactions from the Midnight, right? So all of that will be done as transparent.
Well for that, please.
Sorry?
A Trello board would work really well for that because you could put tasks and then link the transaction that pays for that task below it.
Yeah, a Trello board will work nicely. I actually agree with that. I also think that we should have a Discord thing that's just like Midnight transactions, and we just post Midnight transactions there. It's just because the Trello board is a bit harder to access.
You make a good point.
So yeah, look, if anyone has any questions or anything to state, please put up your hands and ask away. But otherwise, I just want to give a quick update on the. Should we do a little sneak peek into the front end for the B3?
Why don't we get this question first, and then we could maybe blow some people's minds that decide to come here.
Then we'll do a little sneak peek. Gabo Lex, how you doing, my friend? Can you hear us? Try and say something. Oh, he dropped out, disconnected. That's unfortunate. I'm sure he'll be back in a minute. All right, I'm going to. Yeah, there he is. Bring him back up, Nick.
All right, round two. Let's try again.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Absolutely, mate. Hey, how you doing?
Loud and clear.
Awesome. So I have a couple of questions. One, do we know how much midnight are we able to claim through the platform?
Yes.
I have the exact number. Let me pull it up for you.
It's 850,000 or so, but yeah, Nick will get the exact number.
And the second question is, wouldn't it be possible to pick, let's say, 2 or 3 of the most voted options? Why does it have to be only one option? Like we vote to use 100% of the midnight for this thing. Can't we split it?
That is actually something that we discussed. splitting it is a significantly more, well, it's not that it's technically more difficult for us to achieve. It's more so that it isn't so much that splitting it made a whole heap of sense. It also means we need to ask people to vote on ratios as well. Doing that, as far as it looked to me, would have involved at least 6 votes. That was sort of the minimum amount of votes that I could see to getting an effective ratio between things. And that was just basically by doing a first past the post, first seeing if people wanted ratios or not, determining those ratios, running a first past the post, then doing a concentrated vote on the first past the post, and then doing a final determination of those ratios with the options fully set. So it was a longer process. I also think it would have just upset more people if you have a circumstance where someone's getting 30% of the midnight that was staked in the amount. It's almost feels like you're giving them a punishment rather than just having a unified answer, we're doing this. And it also just minimizes the impact of all the other votes, right? It means that any given vote is less impactful for any of the given options. So that's why we went against that. But look, Nick, that's certainly something we can discuss a little further and see. We could maybe even host a little vote to say, would you like there to be different ratios on this? But let me give that a little more thought, Gabbo. We sort of went against it in the earlier phases, but we haven't thought about it since the earlier phases of organizing this vote, to be honest. So we can certainly give that another thought. And Nick, do you have the exact number of midnight?
Yep.
Yes, I posted in the chat. It was 830,000 and 154.57, and I'm not going to read all the decimals.
That's it. Do you have any other questions, Gabbo?
No, thank you very much. And you pronounce my name very well, Steve. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.